Chris, come on in, sir. There we go.
You'd think as many times as I've done this, I would be able to unmute that thing just like that. It's always. My name is Chris Art. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic, and I'm delighted to be here. I uh, It started of COVID when we started doing this Zoom stuff. I started making a little list of the ones I spoke on a lot of these, but these are the ones that I'll go back and visit. They're just good little eggs. I was in a fight with a guy the other night. He said, you can't bond with people on Zoom. I says, you're in the wrong Zoom. I'm just saying. You turn your little camera on and you're gonna, yeah, you can't, yeah. Y'all are on here, I guarantee you. It's just absolutely funny to pop on and it's just like regular AA meetings out there, folks. You're going to find some that are all kicked in and all ready to, and you're going to find some that are like you're not really sure where you're at, and that's okay. I love them all, but I'm hoping the little newcomer will come here. You'll see. That's the big deal. But if you walk into a group and you don't hear a bunch of laughter, you're probably in the wrong group. Just my opinion. Having said that, I'll say it now. I'm going to share my experience for about 45 minutes, and it's I want to make sure I didn't go long. The guys, all the thing I can do, I'm going to share my experience. My experience is maybe completely different than your experience, and that's okay. I am not up here pointing finger telling you what you need to be doing. I, I would like to, but I'm well. Somebody sent me an old recording of mine a bunch of 20 years ago, and I was pointing fingers and spitting fire, and I still get people. Oh, I loved you back then better than now. I said, well, thanks for sharing. Okay, bye bye now. I don't know. I had a nice guy tell me one time, Chris, you can say the same thing without pissing off the whole room. Okay, all right. Well, that's what I'm going to try to do. But just my experience, guy, my experience. And I was talking, I got out and rode the bike this morning and bicycle. I'm a cyclist. And I get out there and I hadn't been on a bike in a month and a half. It's been, I, I'm almost embarrassed to say it's been cold here in Texas. Nothing compared to what you guys are. I know. I apologize, but it's a little chilly for us wussies. Okay, I'm just saying. And yeah, but I was out there riding with this lady, and there was a newcomer out there, and this girl I was riding with said, Chris and I have been riding together for about 30 years, and this girl just she couldn't believe that we were out there doing all that, and this was like, guys, my sober date's November 13th, 1987. And for about 38 years, I'm sitting in these rooms with the finest people on earth. I just, that little girl we were talking to will never understand what it's like um, uh, when you're around a bunch of people and you're all heading in the same direction. It's pretty amazing. I said this the other day. I spoke on this group one time a while back, and I'll say this because I have the conversation pretty often. Um, if you're sitting in this little group right now tonight and you're embarrassed about being an alcoholic, you don't understand what alcoholism is. I can't tell you how many people I cross paths with, and I do clerical work in a treatment center, guys. I see newcomers all the time. This is Hill Country here is full of little newcomers, and so many people. That's that constant. You can't even get talk to them because they're so embarrassed. I'm sorry. They think this is some kind of behavioral problem. It's amazing how long we stay around. And I'm 7 years sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous in the early 80s, folks. And just, I'll call myself an alcoholic, but I don't any more believe it than the man in the moon. And, I'll tell you about it. I, I grew up here in the Hill Country, guys, down about 60 miles west of San Antonio, northwest of San Antonio. Um, Ground zero. Y'all remember the big flood we had 4th of July in Texas? Y'all might have seen the news on there. That river is right out in front of my house. And I mean, it was tough, tough months getting it all back together now. But we lost a lot of people and a lot of property. Uh, but I was on that river uh, January 1971. I went down there and leaned up against one of those big old 700-year-old cypress trees and drank a bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine with a friend of mine. And all the old hippies are smiling. That's just free. They're the only ones that, yeah. Some of you little young ones, go get you some of that on that next relapse. It's no, don't. It's nasty shit. I just don't do it. I'm sorry. The guy that I was drinking it with, the kid, we were in high school, and he said, I don't like the way that tastes. And I said, you know what? I don't either. But I'm going to drink the rest of this. It was the first time I had ever had enough alcohol. My father was an alcoholic and nicest, kindest, sweetest man you'd ever come across, but he drank too much. And I told him I was going to drink the rest of it. And I did. And I walked back across that field. Uh, Golly, it was the month and the year that Bill Wilson passed away. I took my first drink. It's just hard to believe. And I, uh, it was good. I mean, for the first time in my young adult life, I've heard every speaker I've ever heard says the same thing. I, I, I was good. You know, alcohol fixed what was wrong with me, and and I was going to do it as long as I could. I mean, just rock on. I'm in Texas. Everybody drinks in Texas, and God, guys, it's my twin brother, the guy we were talking about earlier. He's an alcoholic too, and I've got two sisters that didn't catch the bullet. There's a genetic predisposition to this, folks, and it's I, I, you can look at my family tree on both sides, and there's little alcoholics everywhere. It's just that's the way it was. You can skip generations, whatever, but guys, you can't make somebody an alcoholic. You can't give them enough alcoholic and make them addicted to it. That's not how this works. Genetics, and it can, like I said, Myers and I came by it, naturally, and uh, we go to football games in high school here, and we go out to the property and get a keg of beer and drink, and I mean, guys just holding it together. I was in the food business. I was a busboy, and I at a big hotel here. It's still here in town, an old, just beautiful old hotel in Kerrville, Texas, and I had an opportunity to cook. I was 17 years old, and the guy gave me a job cooking. And this is before child labor laws. Come on, they could work us to death. I spent many a night working till 2 o'clock and getting up and going to school. And it's just, I loved it, guys. And I did. I was a professional chef for years and years, industry, and works great for alcoholics. Somebody comes at you, then you just quit and have another job in 20 minutes. That's the way it works. So I ended up moving to Houston for a while, and got a job at the Houston Oaks Hotel, and as a guy, it was great, guys. Everybody drank on the job. It was just you hold it together, you're okay. Show up on time, you're okay, and it was pretty good. I made some geographics after that and moved back to the hill country and moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Oh my gosh, I was in Atlanta for a period of time, and I couldn't stay in Atlanta. I barely made a year and I had to leave. They didn't sell booze on Sundays. And I always felt that was a bit discriminatory, I guess. I don't know. God, I moved back to Texas and any of you guys, I don't ever do that. You move thinking it's going to be better, and guess who shows up? I do. I'm my own worst enemy. And I'm just not a happy camper. One of my geographics, I moved back to Houston, Texas, and got a job at a big old fancy hotel. And I don't know, guys, some friends of mine, we bought a little barbecue restaurant, and on the outside everything's looking pretty good. I met this girl, and she was waiting tables at a place where my brother tended to bar, and you know how that goes. And anyway, in short order, we got married, and Myers had moved up to North Texas to be closer to my father, who was teaching in the bindery business. And I don't know, I drug her up to North Texas to be closer to my brother. And we bought a little house. I'd never done anything like that. And on the outside, everything looks good, guys. I just, I remember her walking out on the porch one day and says, "What's wrong? How come you're unhappy?" And we had just been married a short period of time, and she's had a right to be. You know, I I couldn't answer the question, folks. I got everything I ever wanted and needed, and I'm miserable inside. Uh, I came home one night. Uh, I'd been working with a chef, and uh, we'd done some cocaine. Guys, this is the early 80s. Remember Miami Vice? Okay, everybody in the United States was doing cocaine in the early 80s. You can shake your head if you want to. Your grandmother was doing cocaine in the early 80s. Everybody. It was nuts. It was crazy. And we'd done a little bump at work and drinking a little bit, came home, and I don't remember what the fight was about, guys, but we had a little pushing match. And I come from a family on the front row of the Baptist church every time the door opens, and we don't do pushing matches. And I was mortified. She asked me to leave, and I did. And she let me back in the house a few hours later. I'd sobered up, and we had the talk. The talk was like so many of y'all have had the same talk. She looked me in the face and said, "If you want to stay married to me, you're going to have to quit drinking. No drug." She didn't know about the drugs, and she had no idea how much I was drinking. And I got to tell you guys, I looked her in the face with tears in my eyes and promised her that I would never touch another drop. And I could have passed a polygraph, folks. I wasn't lying. I hear people make fun of it all the time. If an alcoholic's mouth's moving, stop. When I told her I was going to stop, I meant it. And a week and a half later, the chef asked me if I wanted a beer, and I took it and didn't get drunk. But she smelled it on me when I got home, and she packed her stuff and moved back to Houston. And I stayed up near Dallas, and uh, I don't know that I had promised her that I wasn't going to drink any, and I started going to Alcoholics Anonymous immediately. I'd watched my father do AA for a while and stayed sober, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this by myself, and I I went to the meetings, and if I say anything controversial, guys, I don't want y'all to think I'm not taking a shot at any of these folks, guys. They were all good people, but guys, the meetings I'm going to were standard. Okay, well, who's new? If you're new, we're going to tell you the scariest stories that we can, like we're going to scare you into recovery. I just Our stories are so important, folks. But if all it involves is our drunkalog, you know, I could sit up here and talk to you and tell you about eating out of a dumpster in Houston, Texas. I knew the owner of the restaurant and I knew what was in that dumpster. Okay, I wasn't living on the street, but I could make it sound like I was. So guys, nobody ever has written me or texted me and said, "Chris, I heard you talk about eating out of a dumpster and I stopped drinking that day." It, the Christians call it discernment, folks. I think there's a time to tell the scary stories. But just as a general rule, we have a lot of people that won't come to AA because they haven't robbed a liquor store or done all the crazy shit that some of us have done. I just, and I'm sitting in these meetings and I'm going, and I'm not, even after she left, and I would continue to go to meetings because it was the only way. I could put together a couple of weeks of sobriety, folks. I can stay sober a couple of weeks just to piss you off. Um, I can't stay sober longer than that. I get so uncomfortable in my skin, I can't stand it. And so many people don't understand. Your life will get better if you stop drinking. That's not my experience. Your external world might be, but your internal world is going to go to heck in a handbag. Just it's called the spiritual malady, folks. It's called untreated alcoholism. The book is, I'm telling you, look on page 64 when it talks about the spiritual malady, guys. It talks about the spiritual sickness. That's what we need to treat, and not drinking doesn't treat that. But I didn't know that. I had this vivid memory. Some of y'all heard me talk before, and I always talk about it a little bit, but there was this great big old club up there in North Texas, and I'm in the park in the meeting, and we all do that. The meetings. We all went around the room, and everybody's, well, Chris has come back and picked up another desire chip, and okay, all right, and we say the Lord's Prayer, and we're out on the front porch smoking, and there's a whole bunch of us guys. It was a big old meeting, and pretty soon I'm listening to what they're all saying. They're talking about where they're going to go to dinner, and they're going to, and one by one they're leaving the front porch, and pretty soon I'm the only one out there, and I walk over and lean on the front of my pickup truck, and the old guy comes out and looks around the parking lot and kind of gives me one of these waves, and turns the lights off. All the big floodlights in the parking lot goes off, and it's just me and my old pickup truck one more time. And I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive 2 blocks over to the little minute market, and I'm going to buy me a 12 pack of beer and go home. I've done it 1,000 times. Could I have asked to go to dinner with those people? Absolutely. Guys, you're looking at one of the shyest people you'll ever know. I just, it was the toughest. Nobody was intentionally trying to hurt me. I'm just saying, guys, somewhere along the line, we started fostering this idea that going to meetings was enough. If you just go to enough meetings, everything will be okay. That's not true. I see it every day. People that go to lots of meetings that can't stay sober. Bill Wilson, in a Grapevine article in 1958, sobriety, freedom from alcohol through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of an AA meeting. Really? Because I don't own a big book. Okay. 1987, I picked up a stack of return checks, and I'm working for my twin brother. I can't cook anymore. I got a psychiatrist. I'm on all kinds of medications, and I got a therapist. Loved her to death. She helped a lot, and but I'm not. I'm still struggling, and I just got up from the couch and straightened up and went to the medicine cabinet and fed the ferrets and took a couple bottles of pills and tried to commit suicide. Guys, I'm just so frustrated. Everything I do, I think I'm doing right. I'm going to meetings, but I can't stay sober, and I really want to stay sober. I need to stay sober. And I think God intervened that night, and I heard that voice that said, "Don't do this. Go back to AA." And I don't want to go back to AA. I've tried it for 7 years. Guys, I've got a drawer full of Desire chips. 7 years, I've never picked up a 30-day chip. Just okay. Not once in that time did somebody come up and I mean, I don't know how many places in the big book it talks about we approach. It's just we approach the newcomer. We approach the newcomer, and it's like 28 places in the first 88 pages it talks about working with others. And I just okay, somewhere we missed it. And one of the reasons our success rates flattened out, we just not near as good as they used to be in the 1955 when that y'all read that beautiful forward to the second edition, when we had a much better success rate. We got a lot more people coming to AA, folks. It's the only game in town. It's the way to do it. They've done study after study, guys. The combination of Alcoholics Anonymous and cognitive behavioral therapy, y'all follow? Having a therapist that you can sit and sort through stuff is the number one solution out there for alcoholics and the little drug addicts from hell. I'll just throw that in there too. But the next day, guys, I couldn't go to the meeting. I was running late at work. I couldn't go to the meetings I'd been going to, and I went to a meeting I'd never been to. It was between me and the Kentucky Fried Chicken and home, and I'm detoxing, and I'm going to go straight home after this meeting. And I walked in the back door, and there's this little I can't not tell it. There's a little girl. She was, I don't know. I'm 35 years old when I got sober, and she must have been 19 years old. And I walked in, and a chairperson seen me in North Texas, and Chris, come up and sit with me. And I got real self-conscious, and I just said, no, 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 no. I gotta go, guys. I just wanted to let you know I'm coming back, and I'll see y'all after I detox. And I started to walk out, and this little girl got between me and the door, stuck her finger in my belt loop, and she said, "Sit down, cowboy. You're not going anywhere." One, I am not a cowboy, but I did have a pair of boots on. It's Her sponsor was in the room, guys, and she couldn't get to me. And she pointed at the girl and said, "Get him." And she did. Guys, if I'd have walked out of that room, I wouldn't have come back. Y'all thought it just, I'm done with this. And she sat me down and got me a cup of coffee and which I immediately spilled, and she got me another cup of coffee, and I'm shaking, and she's some of y'all sitting in this room, you think you've got a pretty good idea who's going to help you in this world. I got you got no idea who's going to touch you. That little crazy newcomer, that may be the one. I've seen it 1,000 times, and sometimes it's that old grumpy guy in the corner. Maybe it's him, but chairperson kept looking at me and looked back up on the wall and kept looking at me and was looking at the steps on the wall. And he said, and I know what he's going to do. Let's tell Chris how we got here. I've been doing this for years, folks. We're going to go around and you're going to tell your scary war stories, and I'm going to, okay. He did. He said, let's tell Chris how our lives have changed as a result of working the steps. He's been around these rooms for years and years. Why don't we talk about little what's happened? I get texts from people all over. You think all meetings should be a gratitude meeting? Pretty much. Thanks for asking. Ugh, this ain't therapy, folks. We're here to transmit a message to that newcomer that'll guaranteed bring about a spiritual experience. Guaranteed. Never seen it fail. They went around the room, guys, and I just got the lady across the way. She was young. She'd been sober about a year and a half, I guess, and young, hadn't been long, and she was holding up her car keys, and she just got her brand new car out in the parking lot, and I just been turned down for a $500 car loan for an old pickup truck I was trying to buy. I mean, this was perfect timing, and she's got her a brand new car. The guy next to it started a little landscape business. He was making some money, and he was all excited about a new life that he was leading. And lady at the end of the table, I'll never forget these folks. She'd gone back to art school. She was in her 40s. She was older than I was, but she'd gone back to school and got her art degree, and she was all excited. You could just see it in her face. She was just all pumped about life. The guy next to me had met a little AA girl on AA campus, and they'd made some little AA babies. And oh my God, he had little Polaroid pictures of his kids, and he picked them out and threw them on the desk in front of me and on the table, and you know, just excited about his new life. At the end of the meeting, guys, they asked if I wanted to stay sober a day at a time. And I picked up my last desire chip. It's in the closet right behind me. I didn't know it was going to be my last desire chip. But on the way out, guys, these old cowboys, there was two of them, and both of them blue collar workers. And I don't. This guy was a stereotypical Texan. I could just describe. He had old tan pants on and a belt buckle about the size of a trash can lid. Just big old Stetson, big old cowboy hat, and big old white shirt with pearl snaps. Just exactly what you think. And yeah, yeah. He had a Cadillac in the parking lot with bullhorns on the front. People think I'm making it up. His name was J.R. I'm not making it. Yeah, he's been dead a long time, guys. I'm sure he's up in heaven laughing his ass off because I'm telling this story. But he pulls me aside. He says, "Chris, can you sit with us for a few minutes? Maybe we can help you find out why you can't stay sober." And I looked at him, and I remember saying, Didn't I mention in my share that I had a psychiatrist in Dallas, Texas, that's trying to help me? And that's why I'm taking all these medications." And he said, "Yeah, I know. Well, that's good. Okay, can you sit with us?" I said, "Yeah, if it's not going to take long because I'm detoxing." And he talked to me about how to help with that detox, what to do. It's called Gatorade. And the other guy sat with him. He said, "Where's your big book?" And I said, "I don't have one. 7 years in AA, and I don't have a big book." And they got me one, guys. There's a whole closet in the back room. It was just full of big book, and he got me one. Still got it. Makes me want to cry. They sat down with me, and in about 20 minutes, they opened the big book and they cherry picked. They talked to me about the doctor's opinion about the physical phenomenon of craving, and they talked about the mental obsession in the more about alcoholism, and there's a solution. They talked about the lack of choice, that we've lost the power of choice in drink. On page 24, it talked about, and they showed me that little page on 64 about the spiritual malady, and they explained this got the little three-part disease here, and it got a three-part solution. He said, "Come in the morning, and we want to show you some things, and we'll see you at 10." I couldn't believe it. I went home again. I never forget as long as I live, looking myself in the rearview mirror. It's dark outside and I'm looking into the car lights and I can see myself. I got tears rolling down my cheek because for the first time I know what's wrong with me. Guys, I didn't have all those psychiatric disorders. I had untreated alcoholism. That equals depression. I said, okay, okay. I'm not knocking medications ever. I'm just, the next morning I got up to that meeting and they showed me how to make a pot of coffee. He said, you might need to know how to do this. And after the meeting, we went in the back room and we did a third step prayer. And they bought me a big old plate of Mexican food at a little place there in Louisville. And I got they came back and they gave me a little notebook and he said, Chris, go home and start writing the people, institutions, and principles you're pissed at. That's called a fourth step. Guys, right after the third step, it says next we launched out on a course of vigorous action. It didn't say next week we'll start the fourth step. They didn't say that. Guys, nobody in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous took longer than a few days at the most to work the steps. It wasn't like this where we just drag it all out and make it more complicated than it has to be. There's some spiritual principles, and that's what we're okay. I put my email in there in that little chat. Y'all can snag it, and I can send you uh, that little online meeting list. But I'll also send you a little first step, little quick first step that shows you the pages that you can read somebody. I'm not against guys reading the book. I'm just saying this is like triage. If that obsession comes back, I'm going to drink, and it won't matter if I got a friend of mine that's uh, just got arrested, just got out of treatment, and 2 or 3 weeks out of treatment, he drank a beer and they pee tested him, and he's going to do a 10-year sentence. And I mean, just but he knew what to do. But he's going to meetings where they're not carrying the big books, and they got somebody who's okay. Well, we'll get together next week and we'll talk about this. This is not fast enough, folks. Bill Wilson's 9 days in his town's hospital detoxing when he has his barn burning spiritual experience because Abby Thatcher came up there and showed him what to do, started presenting him with some spiritual ideas about staying sober. I'm not dogmatic about it, folks. I'm just saying, go hurry up. Get this step done. That fourth step doesn't need to be 800 pages. You don't hate that many people. Come on, let's move. No, I can send you a little fourth step too. You can knock it out in an afternoon. It don't take that long. Anyway, don't get me started. I got it. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck. I've got a completed fourth step. My sponsor's out of town. I'm waiting for him to get back. Well, we're going to dump that fifth step. But he's already teaching me the disciplines of 10, 11, and 12. He's already talking about it, showing me how to meditate. And I'm sitting on that tailgate. And it's the first time I'm looking around and I'm surrounded by 3 places I can see from the tailgate of my pickup truck where I can buy booze. And it's Friday and I got money in my pocket. Y'all remember when you have to go cash it? You used to go cash a check? Yeah. And I had money in my pocket and I don't want to drink. I'll never forget that night going in and washing the dishes and cranking up some rock and roll and on a little. God, my life started, folks. Had a guy text me after one of these talks one time. You can't have a spiritual experience that fast. Of course you can. Read the history. I just, of course, you either are or you're not. It's just that simple. I don't know. But a lot of people out there relapsing, coming back, then they come back into treatment. Oh, I tried AA, it didn't work. Yeah, they were out there 6 months and never did any of the work. All right. We can blame him, but I think it had more to do with the people that were surrounding him. The people, oh, well, this is not a race. It absolutely is a race. Guys, you can't keep me sober. Nobody can keep me sober. I can't stay sober for my family. I can't stay sober for my business. I can't stay sober for my health, for heaven's sakes. What I do is work the steps and that obsession goes away. Those old guys got around me. that one of those guys that 12 stepped me that night, and he said, Chris, we got a group conscience next Wednesday, and we want you to come to this group conscience because we want to nominate you as chairman of the cleanup committee. And I said, I am so not interested. Guys, I'm a professional chef, guys. I know how to clean a kitchen, and that's what they're looking at. Okay. Oh, okay. So I don't know. He said, well, just come anyway. We'll, all right, just come anyway. You've never been to a group conscience, and you said you hadn't, and not just see what it's about. So, okay. And so after the little meeting on Wednesday night, we went back in the back room, and there was about 30 people in there, I guess. I don't remember, about 30. And we did a group conscience. First order of business, we would like to nominate Chris Kramer as cleanup chairman of this group. And I just like, oh, and I was unanimously voted me in. Okay, all 30 people, hands up, everybody. It was railroaded, is what it was. And I got in there after the meeting. I'm cleaning up a little bit in there, and I walk back in the kitchen, and that guy over there, and he's got that look on his face, like, "Boy, we got you, buddy," and, and he's laughing. And I said, "Yeah, thank, real funny." And I says, "If I'm going to do this, I need a list of the other committee members so we can organize a cleaning rotation." And he spit coffee clear across the kitchen. He said, "Chris, there's no committee. You're the janitor at this group. Okay, here, open the door. Here's Mr. Hoover, and I got, here's the cleaning supplies. Here's the keys. Guys, I'm 3 weeks over, and they gave me the keys to the door. Thank God, guys, that I didn't get sober with a bunch of people, a bunch of old grumpy guys telling me what I couldn't do. You're not sober enough to chair a meeting. You're not sober enough to do that. You're not sober enough to do that. That's why people die, folks. If we can get them involved, those old timers, you just say, Chris, find a job in AA and you'll stay. Yes. I stayed gone for 2 days. My meetings were the 6 o'clock meeting, and I stayed gone. I was going to punish them for railroading me like that. And on a Friday, my twin brother let me in the room, and he let me off early, and I got the keys and went down there and opened the door and locked myself in there, and I cleaned that club like a big dog. Guys, all the floors got vacuumed, the linoleum got waxed, the kitchen, all that brown stuff in the coffee pots, and all that got taken care of. What is it about AA club bathrooms? It's not an Exxon station. If you drop that crap on the floor, you pick it up. I'm off my soapbox. Never mind. I cleaned all those bathrooms up, and I'm sitting in there at 5:30. I got coffee made, and the meeting starts at 6. And I hear that front door open, and I know who it is because I can hear her. And she's sliding in, and she's about 2 feet tall. I don't know. She's got little slippers on. She looks like a little question mark. She's just sliding in. She's old, as 140 years old at least. And she's sliding in. God, as cute as could be. And I hear her in the kitchen, and she's squealing in the kitchen, and I'm sitting there thinking, what did I do? What did I miss something? And she goes back around, and she's squealing in the bathroom, and she sticks her head back around the door. She's looking for somebody in there, and I'm in there with all the lights on. She said, "Did you clean this place?" I'm sitting there in my little sweaty Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. Y'all remember Fruit of the Loom t-shirts? And they had a little pocket right here, and you wash them about 100 times, and the pocket would slowly move over here. So yeah, it looked like a little kangaroo. You could put your smokes right here. It's like, God, so not cool. And I'm sitting there all sweaty, sitting at that table, and I always tell it, and I always want to cry. She walked around behind me, and she got her little bony arm. I'm sitting at the table, and she got her little bony arm around my neck, and she whispered on my face. She says, "Boy, we need you here." Gave me a little back hug. Guys, 3 weeks earlier, I didn't try to commit suicide because I was drunk. I tried to commit suicide because I felt absolutely useless. I'm tired of letting everybody down. I'm tired of not having a place in this world. They created a monster. I was there for 5 years, and you couldn't go. Yeah, I wouldn't even look at your face. I'm looking at your feet. Hey, who raised you? Go back out and wipe those feet off. I mean, but it was a clean club, I got to tell you. I was surrounded, guys, when I moved to the hill country. I was surrounded by Mark Houston was in town, and he got to be my sponsor. And so many people out there that were talking about working the steps and reworking the steps and getting out there and being of service. Bill Wilson was, God, just they did a study years ago, guys, and there's several studies that have been done, but they did them. I saw it the other day. They did one up in Baltimore, Maryland, and 500 former drug addicts and alcoholics, and they were seeing what was how who was staying sober. The people that had sponsors, they more of them were staying sober than the people that didn't have sponsors. The people that were sponsoring, they had the highest. They were the they were staying sober more than anybody was staying sober. Bill Wilson said it over and over. It's by working with others that I get helped. On page 129, the bottom of the page, it says, in those first days of convalescence, nothing will so much help them stay sober as intensive work with other alcoholics. Bill's 6 months sober in Towns Hospital. Excuse me, up in the Mayflower Hotel, business deal gone bad. And he said, I knew I needed to find another alcoholic as much as that alcoholic could need me. If y'all get a chance to go to Akron and go check it, it's fantastic tour, and you get a chance to see where he first made his phone calls to Henrietta Cyber, the Reverend Tungsten, and you know the history, and he ended up with Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob was going to see him for 15 minutes, and 6 hours later, he's still in still talking to Bill Wilson. You know how it is when you get one alcoholic talking to another alcoholic that knows what they're talking about. Pretty soon it's like, yes. Yeah. And they went out and got the number 3 and the number 4 and the number 5. Thank God nobody told Bill Wilson that he wasn't sober long enough to work with anybody. We just got to get out, guys. It's our responsibility to teach, to show them what they need to do. And that's it's the absolute best. I got to say this and wrap this up. I was thinking about mom today. My mom was she's a professional artist forever, and she lost her eyesight. And I don't know. We were close as could be. She lived locally, so we could take care of her and kind of watch over. And we'd pick her up and take her to eating meetings. And she always loved AA. She used to ask when I first got sober, "When's your debt to AA going to be paid?" I was like never. What do you mean? But we take her to eating meetings and speaker meetings. She loves speaker meetings, and she'd go in there, and I'd be looking at her. She'd be looking around the room, and she could see just a little bit, and she could look at people, and she'd be over there laughing at somebody said. And we'd go home, and she'd have that look in her face. I said, "Mom, what's wrong? Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I just wish we could find that kind of love in our churches." She was on the front row of the Baptist church every time the door opened up. I said, "Yeah, and not knocking the Baptist church. I'm saying I've seen that 1,000 times. You come into a good, healthy room of people out there trying to help other people." There was one of my favorite quotes, Martin Luther King quote: "Life's most urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Instead of telling that newcomer that they're not sober long enough to help anybody, let's encourage them to get out there and help where they can help. Maybe they can't go do a chair meeting the first week they're out. What I got that, but could they help clean up? Could they help do anything to feel a part? Yeah, yeah. I got my marching orders years ago, folks. No matter what I'm doing, go help somebody. And it's not just in AA, folks. It's anywhere. And I'll catch myself walking past somebody. I got a couple of minutes. I got to tell you, walking through Walmart parking lot one time, I park way out so I can walk and leave the parking spots closer to the people that can't. And I'm walking out in this dark after dark, and there's this old guy out there and got the trunk up on his car, and he's got a big skid out there with a bunch of animal feed on these skids, and he's over there struggling with this. He's older than Methuselah, and he's over there trying to drag that sack back up into his car. And I walk right by him. Because I'm very busy. I need to return some calls, and I've got some sponsees I'm supposed to see, and I'm just and I got about halfway to my car, and it felt like God had just thumped me in the head. I was like, what do you? And I spun around and walked back over towards his car. Real quick, in case you ever end up having to wear a black eye patch, you don't walk up fast to anyone in a dark parking lot. You look like a terrorist. Don't do it. I'm just saying. And I'm walking up. I'm coming up your way, boss. I'm coming up. And I walk up over towards him like that. He looked and he just kind of leaned on it like that. And I said, man, you need some help with those bags? And he said, well, if we're going to get this done anytime tonight, I'll probably help. We're laughing. And I helped him flip them over in the seat. I said, you want me to follow you home to help you get them out? And he said, no, no, I got it. I said, my wife can unload these easy, no problem. I said, okay. But I went back over to my truck and that walk was completely different. If I, for just a minute, my head was completely out of my own butt. I was thinking of somebody else. Uh, it's just, it's the key. Bill Wilson talks about working with others, helping others is the foundation stone of our recovery. And it's always been that way with me. I got to tell you. Somebody sent this to me uh, ages ago, like 6 months ago. It wasn't all that long ago, but I've kept it and I've ended every talk I've done in the past with it. It's just it's perfect for what we're talking about. God didn't add another day to your life because you needed it. He added it because someone needed you. Some of y'all heard me speak 100 times, and y'all know I always end up talking at this. The spiritual warfare that we have to deal with when we first get sober is huge. And I got to tell you guys, it's I'm 38 years sober, and I still have to deal with that spiritual warfare at times. My little mind will tell me I'm not sober long enough. I can't do this. I don't have time. I don't. Uh, God wants us busy, folks. He's given every one of us a job, and I can't do certain things. Eric chairs this meeting like a big boy. And I got to tell you, guys, I watched a lot of chair people. Y'all have got this thing worked down like Pat. Everything's organized. It's so far away from when we first started in COVID, where everything was just all kind of balled up. We didn't know if we were going to get on or not. And it was just uh, groups that had 15-year-olds could set these up and did pretty well. They were the only ones that knew how. But the point I'm saying, guys, I couldn't chair like he does. He chairs great. My wife's the treasurer of our group. I couldn't be a treasurer of our group if you held a gun to my head. I just think it's stupid. You're going to stay up half the night looking for a quarter? No, I don't give a poot. Here, just she does. The thing is going to balance before she goes to bed. That's the nature of the beast. Guys, we all have our talents. We all have our things that we can do in the group. We can decorate them. We can clean them. We can be there as a greeter. Some of y'all are so personable and you have such a great personality. You make the rooms just wonderful for that little newcomer who's scared to death. Make them feel comfortable. Bless every one of you that came and stayed and maybe left and came back. I'm honored to know every one of you. Thank y'all so much for letting me share.